All right, I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 action meeting to order. May we please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Mrs. Macro.
Mr. Adams.
Present.
Dr. Anderson.
She should be online.
She's double muted.
Dr. Anderson, are you able to hear us?
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Mr. Caligari.
Here.
Ms. Chedowitz.
Here.
Mr. Devine.
Here.
Mr. Hill will not be attending this evening. Mr. Sokolsky.
Here.
Mrs. Stepnick.
Here.
Ms. Wetmore.
Here.
And Student Representative Ms. Drabcho will not be joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Macro. Recommend approval to accept and resolve the following minutes as listed below. Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021 action meeting minutes. Wednesday, December 1st, 2021 reorganization meeting minutes. And Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 discussion/board budget workshop meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Recognitions. Mrs. Macro, if you want to help us with that, that would be awesome.
Well, we're going to start with PIVIC. Mr. Gottner, please.
I almost thought that might have been Alex for a second.
It's been a long day. If you want to go right there and take the picture, you don't bother us at all.
Dad, we'll get pictures afterwards. I'd like to take this time to recognize Stella DeRubo. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. DeRubo. Stella is a kindergarten student at Pittsburgh Elementary who participated in the Amen to Action, where 10 churches of all backgrounds joined together to donate over 1 million meals to the greater Pittsburgh Food Pantry. Stella and her family personally assisted her church, Amplify, by packaging over 100,000 meals. Stella and her family also held an annual food drive this fall in her neighborhood to donate fresh produce grown in their garden and other gardens in Plum, as well as other food items to the Plum Borough Food Pantry. Stella and her family currently are in the process of gathering children's and women's clothing, toys, and feminine products to donate to a local DV shelter. These items will be donated after the holiday. On behalf of Pittsburgh Elementary and the Plum Borough School District, we are proud to recognize Stella DeRubo for her contributions in the community. Stella, this is your award. And it just says that we're proud of you and we want to recognize everything that you have done.
Keep up the good work.
Way to go, Stella.
For the high school, we have Mr. Fischel, Colonel Nosak, and Master Sergeant Butler.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It is an honor to introduce these three folks here with me tonight. I would like to introduce you to Master Sergeant Butler, Colonel Nosak, These gentlemen run our junior ROTC program, and they're going to introduce you to a very special young lady. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for giving us the opportunity to recognize two of our cadets, one of which is here tonight. Cadet Kilmeyer and Cadet Cyril. Cadet Kilmeyer is one of 200 cadets worldwide who won a Flight Academy Scholarship. Cadet Cyril is one of 70 selected as an alternate for a Flight Academy Scholarship. The Flight Academy Scholarship is a $22,500 scholarship to get a private pilot's license with absolutely no military commitment whatsoever. So she's going to go get her pilot's license. Worldwide, there's 120,000 cadets in JRGC. 1,300 applied for the scholarship, and she's one of 200 that were selected. To get selected, and Cyril, Cadet Cyril, he is one of 70 selected as an alternate. To get selected for this, it's academics, physical fitness, and an aptitude test by the Air Force. She is a squadron commander in the Cadet Corps and also part of the group staff. She helps run the Cadet Corps. Her squadron is one of the busiest squadrons, so if you've ever seen the color guard or the drill team or the air rifle team, which just made nationals, by the way, the Raiders team and the archery team, that all falls within her squadron. She's a leader within JRC, and she's also a leader in the school. She's very active in the school. Cadet Cyril, he is part of the Stellar Explorers. He was a captain of that, but due to no fault of his own, due to COVID and other things, that didn't get off the ground. But he's working right now to set up a drone extracurricular. He's researching how much it's going to cost, what is needed, how much interest there is, and he's going to try to get that off the ground. He's also active in the school. So on behalf of the school board, we'd like to recognize Cadet Kilmeyer for the certificate of recognition.
Congratulations.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you. We will now have citizens' comments on agenda items.
If anyone in the audience is interested in making a citizen's comment, please step to the podium. You'll state your name and your residency within Plum. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The time will be on the board. We will let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining. When you're finished, please step to the clipboard and sign your name so that I can spell your name correctly in the minutes.
Yeah, just a reminder.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I was used to the 3 minutes, it is 5 minutes.
And I'd just like to have a reminder for the speakers tonight, just a reminder that citizens' comments are intended to inform the board of their facts and opinions so that we can consider the information for decision-making. However, this is not a question and answer session. Board members will not be dialoguing during your comments. However, I am encouraging you to consider doing the following to ensure that your questions are considered and addressed. Send an email to all 10 school board members for our consideration and response. Please also consider participating in the set scheduled coffee with the cabinet and board members if possible, which should be scheduled for January and February. This is an open meeting and a great forum to have issues addressed and to have some dialogue. I just don't want there to be any awkward moments where questions are answered and we can't answer them.
Sure.
Thank you to everybody in advance.
So you're basically saying that if I have a question, you won't answer it
Not here.
at this meeting, right?
It's not a dialogue, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So my name is Jordan Purdy. I live at 1440 O Block Road. This is only my second school board meeting I've attended, but after the first, I felt obligated to speak. The first item I want to talk about is I'm a little confused as to why the public is not allowed to speak on agenda items at the end of a meeting. Now, I understand that once the agenda item is reviewed, there will be a vote made, and that's basically an end to it. But if there is an item that is discussed by the board and not voted on at that time, meaning the voting will be on a later date, why not allow the public to discuss? I would hope that you would want to hear feedback and have people more engaged. The next item would be the mask policy in effect until January 11th. And that date, to my knowledge, has to do with when the revised health and safety plan will be implemented. I wanted to ask what was the significance of that date, but I will move on. I also believe that the mask policy was based on Allegheny County PCR rates, but that also confuses me because Plum is a rural suburban community. It doesn't make sense to use Allegheny County as a whole to make that determination. There are boroughs and towns closer to Pittsburgh city center with more concentrated or dense populations than Plum being lumped in. I look at Penn Trafford School District, which is comparable to ours. They leave it up to the individual to make the choice whether or not to mask their kids. Now that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has vacated the mask order, we should leave it up to individuals as well. Why are we waiting till the 11th? The mask mandate was what preempted this policy to begin with, and now it is done. I think it is extremely naive to think children can wear a mask properly for an entire day, let alone. And I see adults, when my short amount of time that I was here, they did not have their mask on properly. So to think children can do it, it's a moot point. The gator masks I see, those are useless. You can't even wear one of those on an airplane. Cloth masks, just about as useless. And I've seen constant pulling masks down even today. So I have no problem with someone who wants to wear a mask, that is their choice. But I do have a problem with my child being forced to wear a mask, especially when I hear children saying that it's hard for them to breathe and concentrate and hear and see others speak. It truly breaks my heart. Everywhere else you go, masks are not forced. You see people in Steelers game, at the Steelers games, the Penguins games, there's festivals, there's restaurants, you go to the grocery store. They're not being forced to wear masks, let alone children. So I want to leave it to the parents to decide what is best for their child. That's all. I'm calling for an emergency vote to end your mask policy, because why wait till January 11th?
Thank you.
Say your name and address first. Is that what you said? Okay, thank you. Jimmy Reese, 144 Valley Fields Drive. I come here today to talk to you guys as a whole, not as individuals, because I do know that some individuals share some of the commonality that me and the gentleman who just spoke. But I come here today to just basically say what I got to say, no questions, and just kind of go down to the basketball game. So I come here today because the school district has yet failed us again. We sadly do not have enough leadership amongst the people who are supposed to lead this school board and this administration. And that's just a fact by what has gone on the last 2 years. From policy procedure, this board has done nothing. I'm just going to read verbatim. Has done nothing for the last couple of years but bow down to the state and the county and use them as an excuse not to make the tough decisions that each of you were voted in to make. Here we sit still with a mask policy when neighboring school district, as that gentleman said, are giving the kids the options as it should be. When asked the questions, the same answer is, it's only for a few more weeks. Do you remember that saying a few years ago? 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Anyone? So going back on, as I was saying about this, is what happened at the school district in the weak leadership, it trickled down to the local borough elections. You guys all saw it. There's people that made it onto the school board and made it onto the local borough because of the horrible job, and you were slated as a party, and it should never be that. I don't believe there should be parties for school districts because it should be about the kids. It shouldn't be about a party. But sadly, that's the way it went down. Dave Odom, who's a friend of mine, up for re-election. I don't know all of you, but he's one of the best leaders that I know. He lost, not because of who he was, because of the ticket he ran on. And that should never be. But that trickled down for what happened here. And that's, last 2 years. That's reality. And in closing, well, two things in closing, is a couple weeks ago, I see a lot of familiar faces here. And when I say this, as people, I know some of you, you're good people, but it doesn't mean you can lead. It's just being honest with you. I mean, it's, you know, you don't want somebody coaching your kid that knows nothing about the sport. It doesn't make him or her a bad person. It just means they can't lead your kid in there. And so back to what I was saying about a few weeks ago, I sat in that gym and I listened to Pat McAfee just kind of basically like make jokes because of the resistance he was getting when he wanted to give $2 million. Like, think about that. Like, there was resistance on how allocated the money should be. And so by somebody who's given his money back to the thing. And then, you know, obviously it got ironed out, thank God, you know, and here we stand. But once again, it was a roadblock. And that shouldn't be. You know, we should be what's best for these kids, and we're not doing it. There's no science that says wearing these masks basically saves lives for these kids. That's a fact. You know, and like I said, I know there's a new board coming in. And I say that because I hope that you listen to the people. Because when we sat here a few months ago, the majority of the people here, and when I say this, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I don't mean, to each is their own. The masks aren't going away, in my opinion, forever. Some people are just going to use it as a crutch, which is fine. But the majority of people sat here, up on this podium, and they came up parent after parent and said, option, option. Not one of them came up and said, nobody should wear a mask. They just said it should be an option. This is the leadership that we need. This is the leadership that we demand. We have a ton, and they're sitting behind me, a ton of great people in this community, and you're part of that. You're part of that. But you got to make tough decisions. You have to be a leader. Leaders make tough decisions, and they lead. And that's the reality. And going back to policy for the last minute about the schools, you have to look into policies. I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to walk out the door. My son got suspended from school for 3 days. I don't challenge his suspension. He got suspended because a kid called him an MFer. He got up in the kid's face and said, say it to my face, fag. Not saying he should have said the word, he said it. 3 days out of school suspension. Let me rewind 2 weeks prior. A kid emulating or masturbating on the football bus, videotaped by another player, shared by another player, 1 to 2 days in school suspension. You tell me in what world that makes any sense whatsoever. And when I asked the school district, and the principals are great. I'm a huge advocate of teachers, principals, everything. Mr. Fisher was one of the best people that I know. He helps my son out every day. But the reality is, when I asked them, their answer is, it's policy. There's nothing we can do. I don't disagree with you, but it's policy. So I asked the new board, thank you. I asked the new board, just go in and look at the policies, because Pat McAfee, as one of them, what they kept saying, 1984 or whatever it is, I think some of these policies need to look at, and some common sense needs to come across. Thank you. I hope you all have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you.
Any other comments at this time? Mr. Caligiuri, back to you.
All right, we'll move on to the president's report. And this will be my first one, so you have to bear with me. So first, let me wish you all the happiest of holidays. The school district has been very busy, and a lot has transpired, as you will hear from the various reports tonight. I'd like to just focus on a few inspiring and proud moments and events of the last month or so. First, let me recognize Ms. Jorgensen, one of our social workers, for the insightful and purposeful article that was published by the Allies for Children organization. That report and Plum's commitment to adding social worker positions and strengthening our counseling program was featured in the December 2021 Pulse report for Children and Families that was published by Allies for Children, the United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania, and the Poise Foundation. She deserves adequate recognition for that, and if you get a chance, please do read it, as she explains the challenges of our district and our staff. And most importantly, the resilience of our staff members. After a long delay, our chorus and concert programs were back in full swing. Beautiful music was shared with families and was enjoyed by so many in person this year. Thank you to all of the employees and parent volunteers for their hard work to accomplish these programs. They were amazing and definitely started the holiday season off on a positive note. So it was really wonderful to be back in there listening to them. Friends of Rachel, the Rachel's Challenge, as you can recognize from the borders here around our tables, is off and running. Students are leading the effort in so many ways. The excitement of many students to find ways to treat others equally and caring for their well-being has been invigorating. If you have not been able to do so, please take some time to review the many posts of their work this far, and also to review the Rachel's Challenge website, which is very insightful. The annual Make-A-Wish Telethon is back. Please make plans to watch the program this Thursday, December 23rd. The goal is to reach a total of $1 million raised since the telethon's inception. What an awesome accomplishment for the school district and for so many wonderful children who are going to benefit from their work. The students and the staff really put themselves all out there. It's a very exciting accomplishment, and I wish them the best and can't wait to celebrate when they hit the $1 million mark. After that, it's just may you and your families have the happiest of holidays, and we will see you after the new year. And with that, we would move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Caligari, and good evening to everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to once again congratulate the 3 new members of the board. You now have the opportunity to bring your talents, your good ideas, and most importantly, your dedication to the 3,500 students of the Plum Borough School District. I thank you and the remaining members of the board for the time spent away from your families in order to make this district the best it can be and to serve the students of this district. Today marks the 82nd day of the school year, so we are quickly approaching the 1/2 year mark of the school year. As Mr. Caligari indicated, since our last meeting, we've had many wonderful performances, and I too would like to congratulate all the teachers and students who did such an admirable job during their performances. And as the year began, we were hoping that we were going to be able to get in all the concerts and all the athletic events, and I'm proud to say we have not missed one athletic event or one musical performance for our students. This month has truly been about giving. We've had Stuff a Bus that collected 2,100 toys for the Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots campaign. It was so awesome to see our students and our community step up for those who are less fortunate and may be experiencing some difficult times. But that is what we do in Plum. A special thanks goes out to the ROTC cadets who left, but most importantly, to our own high school administrative assistant, Sherry Klein, who served as the coordinator. She outdid herself like she does every single year. Just some notes, kindergarten registration opens up January 17th, 2022. Interested families should please look on our website for more information. To make everyone feel just a little bit older, those families who will have children signing up for kindergarten today will also be attending the graduation of the class of 2035. Hopefully that makes you feel nice and young. Something that is happening behind the scenes that many people don't know about is the kindness, the compassion, and the generosity of this community. As an example, I walked past a room today that was loaded with presents for those amongst us that are having a very difficult time meeting ends meet. Because of the kindness of so many in this community, they too will have a Christmas that will be special. It makes you feel extremely proud to be part of such a giving and warm community. I would also like to acknowledge the superheroes over at Pittsburgh Elementary. On Thursday, December 9th, all the superheroes in the community gathered to watch their own Superman, or the Jonado, Joey Burns, demonstrate his powers of positivity and strong will. Joey recently completed his last chemotherapy treatment in a 2.5-year battle against cancer. His classmates gathered to wish him off as he went to ring the bell for the last treatment and then go to shave the hair off our beloved Pitt Panther and long snapper Cal Adamitis. To Joey, to his classmates at Pivot, to Mrs. Uhas, on behalf of the Plum Borough School District, we all say, well done, very well done. I wish I had time to list all the wonderful things that are going on in this district, but there is not enough time in this day to do that. I want to wish everyone a joyous holiday season, and may the 3,500 students and their families within this district have a wonderful, healthy, and happy 2022. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Caligari.
Thank you, Dr. Highland. We will not have a student representative report tonight. So we are going to have what is a consent agenda tonight. So I'm going to recommend approval, then I'm going to ask for a motion of the items, Roman numeral 10 through 19. Anybody who wants to dissent or abstain should state the specific area where they're going to dissent, the specific line item that they're going to dissent from, or the specific line item that they're going to abstain from, so that we can have it recorded for the meeting minutes. So I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to recommend approval to accept and resolve the following items for Roman numeral 10 through Roman numeral 19 as listed below.
On behalf of the board, I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I accept, I am a no on 11A4.
Any abstentions?
I'm just going to abstain from the line item in the treasurer's report that would contain my father's paycheck.
All right, with that, the motion passes. So now I'm going to go back and we're going to ask for our lead board liaison reports, and I'm going to start and just go in order. So the first one will be personnel and Mr. Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Caligiuri. We've had a fairly busy month. We just hired our 5th certified school nurse, which gives us one at each school building today. I want to say thank you to our teachers and principals. The past few months have been rough, trying to cover all of our classes. However, with the help of our principals stepping in and teachers covering during their prep periods, we've been able to make it work. So thank you all for your dedication to our students. We will be holding a job fair on January 17th from noon until 3 o'clock. The focus will be on bus drivers and bus aides, custodians, food service, nurses, paraprofessionals, substitute administrative assistants, teachers, and substitute teachers. The district will also be holding a retirement seminar on February 9th for anyone considering retirement over the next 3 to 5 years. The meeting will be at 4 o'clock in the junior high auditorium. Plum Borough School District is committed to the physical and mental well-being of our employees. The following resources have been made available to our staff. A short podcast on preventing holiday stress and anxiety, a short read on the same topic, healthy eating tips for the holidays, which does state that no food is on the naughty list, so as long as you practice moderation. Also, I want to give our staff a reminder that with the holidays coming up, our EAP program offers up to 3 safe rides home per year through Uber. Lastly, I'd like to clarify a horribly written headline in the paper from a few weeks ago that set panic throughout our community. Yes, we are short on bus drivers, however, we have not missed a route this year, and our plans are to continue doing whatever we need to make sure we do not. The communication was sent out merely as a heads up in the event a route cannot be covered. However, we just hired 2 drivers tonight, which will make things much easier. But a huge thank you to Mr. Mergen for covering routes when needed, and to our maintenance crew that have stepped in to help drive as well. And lastly, thank you to the board for allowing the administration to offer employment letters prior to action meetings and hiring new employees retroactively as needed. Thank you, Mr. Caligiuri. That's all for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Devine. Next up is Student Achievement and Activities. Dr. Anderson, Lead Board Liaison.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, we have heard and reports already great things about Racial Challenge and the concerts that have gone on. So I'd like to just give an update that's specific to athletics. I'll pass on from Mr. Shute, so I'll just go through each of the teams. Boys and girls rifle, the team is 1-3, but the coach has said that the teams are shooting very well at this point. They'll have their first section match after holiday break against Indiana. For boys and girls bowling, both the boys and girls bowling teams are off to a 3-0 start. Both have wins over Redeemer Lutheran, Gateway, and Penn Hills. The next match is on January 5th against Burrow at Memphis Lane. Wrestling, the team had their strongest finish in years after Beacon Invitational hosted by Gateway. The team overall finished 3rd in this tournament, which is a large undertaking. The team has had one section match against Penn Trafford, one lost by 1 point to PT. The team has a match at Woodland Hills on 12/22, and then over the holiday will compete in the South Moreland Holiday Tournament. As for the swimming team, the teams have had one meet so far at Kiski area. The boys lost at Kiski and the girls beat the Cavaliers. Both the boys and girls swimmers will compete against Penn Trafford. Competed yesterday against Penn Trafford and will return after the holiday break with a meet at Fox Chapel on January 6th. As for boys basketball, they started off strong with a 3-1 record. They had wins over Valley and Riverview to win our own kickoff tournament, and they have a non-section victory over Brashear. The only loss so far was for section Southampton. The boys continue section play tonight against Armstrong, and they'll play over the holiday break in the Freeport holiday tournament. For the girls team, they've had a strong start to the season as well. They're currently 2-2. They went 1-1 at the Freeport kickoff tournament. They beat Freeport but then lost to Highlands in the final. We defeated Penn Hills in a non-section game and then lost our first section game to Hampton. They will play against Armstrong tonight as well, and then over the break we'll play in the Howdy Holiday Classic. The overall teams have gotten started. I'll give you more of an update on those in January because we're in our second round now with boys basketball playing girls basketball finished up last month. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dr.
Caligiuri.
Anderson. And, Mr. Devine, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I skipped over one part in my report. I apologize. Also want to welcome Officer Plum, who's in the audience tonight, giving us a total of 6 officers in the Plum Borough School District now.
All right, safe and supportive schools. Mr. Adams, lead board liaison.
Good evening, and I'd like to echo the welcome as well with safety and security, of course, being the relevant topic there. But just one item to touch on, the high school will start a student safety team that will meet with Mr. Hanna and building administrators on a quarterly basis, and the goal is to provide students with an opportunity to provide suggestions and feedback to keep our schools safe, just giving them a voice in the process. Idea is that there be a male and a female for each grade. And again, that's going to be on a quarterly basis. I think it's a great way to continue building the bridge between the police, our community, and really the administration as well. So definitely looking forward to seeing how the progress goes with that. And we had a note in here about Rachel's challenge. It's great. I mean, I think the kindness, compassion ties right in with school safety. I think everybody's touched on that already, though. So that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Next up is budget and finance. Ms. Chudowitz, lead board liaison.
The agenda items that are listed as follows. The only thing I wanted to add is that the committee has reviewed the kindergarten workshop financial impact from February of 2021, and we will take that into consideration with fiscal reporting moving forward. So that's something that we're going to work together on.
Thank you. Facilities and operations, Mr. Hill, lead board liaison. He's not able to join us tonight. Does any of the administrators have a report that they'd like to state on his behalf?
No further report.
Thank you, Mr. Mazur. Next is Eastern Area Schools. That would be Mrs. Wetmore, lead board liaison.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. The next is Forbes Road, CTC, and again, Mr. Hill is not here. Does administrator have a report? No. There's no report for that. Intergovernmental, Mr. Devine, lead board liaison.
No report tonight. Just want to let everybody know that I think they reorganize next month. So once that happens, I'll be setting up meetings, probably at least quarterly with them once we know who they are.
Thank you, Mr. Devine. Next up is legislative. Mr. Sokolsky, lead board liaison.
Yeah, first I will apologize up front being my first meeting, so if my report is a little bit lengthy, I'm
push the
open
button.
to advice.
Push the button.
There you go. You
I
gotta let
thought
go.
I had the button.
Yeah, you gotta let go. Then push again. There you go.
Okay, I've learned my lesson. Just another one. So, first of all, I'd like to start off and foremost, I want to do at my first public meeting since the election is to thank the community for supporting me and electing me to this position.
You have humbled me numerous times, and words cannot express my gratitude. I stood on certain principles and promise you, though I am in the minority, I will not back away from them, especially transparency in true form. So I thank you. Nationally, as far as legislation, the Build Back Better Act is struggling. The Department of Education is still working on its text. There's a large concern right now between STEM education in the city, between the cities and the rural areas. They believe that there's a very large gap, and the Department of Education nationally is looking to focus a great deal more on the environment. I have already made initial contact with Representative Brandon Markosik, Tony DeLuca, Jim Brewster, and Kurt Sony, who's the Pennsylvania Department of Education chairperson. I actually received an email from him this afternoon. Legislative means relating to policies and laws. The legislative branch is one of three, but many historians believe our forefathers made it the first listed in our Constitution because it is the only one voted on directly by the people. Therefore, it is to speak for the people and hear the people. I take that meaning to heart and literally. Therefore, to continue to fulfill my election position on transparency and hearing you, Plum Borough, I am announcing a non-formal gathering to hear you before our discussion meetings. It'll be posted this evening after the meeting, the first Wednesday of every month from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. I will be sitting to hear you on anything to formulate possible topics to be presented the following week at the discussion session, the second Tuesday of the month. My plan is to do this informally at Larry Mills Pavilion at a table, but because it is winter, I have kindly been given space at Bartow Family Chiropractic on Salzburg Road from January to April. Fellow board members are certainly invited, but it will be first come, first served for members because we cannot go over 4 members to never have a quorum. Residents, the more the merrier, please come. No decisions, no commitments, no promises will be made, but concerns, issues, and questions will be heard. Wednesday, January 5th will be the first. Reminders will go out, and see you at Bartow Chiropractic at 10101 Salzburg Road. On a state level, Act 84 was approved by the governor, which allows our nurses to get credit for taking seizure management courses. I just took a school board course this weekend for school board members, and we spent an hour on seizure management in the new presentation. Vaccination prohibition has been opposed by the governor that school children be vaccinated. Temporary emergency bill sponsored by Representative DeLuca limits the time a school board may declare a temporary emergency. Previously, it was emergencies could be for 4 years. It's now down to 60 days. The preamble, I think this is pretty cool. The preamble to the Pennsylvania and United States Constitutions must be posted in all schools' front hallways within 90 days. And the U.S. preamble and Pennsylvania's both begin with "We the people." Senate Bill 247 is a garb law that has been repealed. This means that teachers may now wear clothing with religious insignias on it during instruction time. December 10th, the Supreme Court said that Acting Secretary of Health did not have the authority to mandate masking. They have now left a decision to each individual district. So I have a question as a new board member because I'm not sure exactly how this is done. I wasn't sure if I could ask the question when the comment was asked or if I can ask it now. So I guess I'm asking the president if I can ask a question regarding a comment made on agenda items. I would like to ask that we revisit the January 11th mask optional date as a board.
So this is not a discussion meeting, and we've already passed the health and safety plan.
Okay.
So the next opportunity actually to discuss it in public would be at the January 11th
Okay.
board meeting. So right now, the health and safety plan concludes, or I should say, hits a different phase January 11th, in which case everybody will have had a chance to be fully vaccinated, or if the parents chose to have their children fully vaccinated. And then at that point, masks will become optional, but we extended the flex opportunity for the third 9-week period. So that's where we're at now, and it's not something that we would vote on for today.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a new Allegheny County ordinance. I think this is interesting for everybody. Employers of over 26 employees must give an additional 1 hour of sick day credit for every 35 hours worked, not to exceed 40 hours in a calendar year after 90 days of employment. Unused sick time does not need to be paid upon ending employment. House Bill 1332 requires that all districts post curriculum online. Every book must have a link or the title posted, must also have a syllabus and description within 30 days of changing anything. House Bill 412 gave districts more flexibility in hiring substitutes to help with the sub shortage. And Senate Bill 937 was passed, and it will prohibit mandating vaccinations to enter kindergarten to 12th grade. And with that, I close, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I just have to make a couple of clarifications. While it's totally appropriate for a school board member to have a private meet and greet, we just want the public and the school board members to know that you can't speak on behalf of the school board. And the second thing is that the other school board members should know that a quorum consists of 5 people. So if you're going to attend, it's very important that you consult with Mr. Dice, Dr. Highland, or myself if you feel that there may be as many as 5 people in attendance. And Mr. Dice, if there's anything that I would be remiss in adding to that, I just want to make sure that we're all protected.
No, I think the concerns about the sunshine law are probably, the most evident, the thing we'll have to be aware of. And I think, as Mr. Sokolsky said, everyone will just have to be aware that anything discussed at any meeting of any sort like that will be non-binding. The board cannot bind itself at a meeting like that. So just as long as members of the public are aware of that, I think that's important.
And just one other thing. I'm very well aware, that's why I said in there that we can't have more than 4 members should others decide to come. I did run it by to make sure that it was appropriate and could be done. And I will make sure that we don't have more than 4. As I said in the comments, it's a first come, first served basis. If you do, I welcome you to come, but,
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, for sure. It's just my role to make sure that I inform the public fully and to let the rest of the board members know what their responsibilities are. So I appreciate that. Thanks for your first report. We'll move on to equity and inclusion. Mrs. Wetmore, lead board liaison.
I do have a short report. So over the next several months, I want to take the opportunity to share with the community the activities and lessons learned our students experience as part of Rachel's Challenge program. But before I begin with that overview, I also want to acknowledge one of our very own social workers, Eliana Jorgensen, who works with our high school students. Ms. Jorgensen wrote, as Mr. Caligiuri mentioned, a very heartfelt article that was submitted and published through the Allies for Children organization, highlighting what we are doing to address student social and emotional trauma in our district. Her article shares what a typical day in the life of a Plum Borough social worker looks like in this era of COVID, and was eye-opening to me as it showed the positive impact she and our other social workers are having on the mental health and well-being of our students. A huge thank you to all of them, as well as our counselors, psychologists, teachers, and administrators who are practicing an open door policy that is literally proving life-saving in our schools. And congratulations to Eliana. Now, on to Rachel's Challenge. For those who have heard of the program being implemented but aren't sure about the purpose, I would offer that Rachel's Challenge is a program built on social emotional learning principles like kindness and compassion, which are the foundation of mental health, behavior management, and creating inclusion in our schools. According to their website, Rachel's Challenge, quote, envisions schools full of hope, free from harassment, violence, and self-harm, where teachers are free to teach and students are inspired to learn. Their mission is to address the root causes of school violence, bullying, prejudice, and self-harm through social-emotional learning programs that build connection, hope, and resilience. They work to improve the school culture so that students are able to reach their full potential academically, socially, and emotionally. November was the kickoff. Sorry, lost my place. November was the kickoff of Rachel's Challenge in Plum Borough School District. Mr. Darrell Scott, Rachel's father and the founder of the organization, was the keynote speaker for our staff professional development on November 1st. That same week, Chris Mowry presented the developmentally and age-appropriate Rachel's Challenge assemblies in each of our 5 buildings. The overarching themes from Rachel's Challenge are: look for the best in others, dream big, choose positive influences, speak and act with kindness, start your own chain reaction. One of the highlights was the formation of Friends of Rachel Club, FOR4, the 4 club training for interested students. Holiday Park, O-Block, and Plum Senior High School all have dedicated students who participate in the Friends of Rachel. The 4 Club is the driving force behind all of the activities the students at each school participate in to supplement the classroom instruction. 4 is a student-led organization with adult supervision and guidance that is key in changing the culture of the buildings through peer-to-peer positive actions. December marked the first month of Rachel's Challenge instruction in each of our buildings. Students were provided age-appropriate lessons focused on engagement with others, particularly those they don't know or don't know well. Some of the activities included lessons asking them to introduce themselves to someone new and to write a thank you note for someone who had done something nice for them in the past. That was at Holiday Park. Others reviewed a short video discussing Rachel Scott's Code of Ethics and then were given time to write their own codes. And I believe that was O-Block. For those who are wondering why I would want to report out on Rachel's Challenge, it is for the simple fact the underlying goal is to promote inclusion and eliminate alienation in our schools. One of the very reasons this committee was formed. For those who are interested in additional information on Rachel's Challenge, it can be found on our district website.
Thank you. We'll continue on to citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Mrs. Macro.
If any audience members would like to make comments at this time on non-agenda items, please step forward. We have you state your name and your residency within Plum. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. Please direct your comments directly to the board. You will be given a 30-second warning when your time is coming to a close, and just sign your name on the clipboard so I spell it correctly in the minutes. Anybody want to comment at this time? Mr. Caligiuri, back to you.
All right, no comments. Thank you, Mrs. Macro. Upcoming public meetings. We'll have a discussion meeting January 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. and that'll be here in the library. And we'll have an action meeting January 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. here in the library. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains?